Peach dumplings on the stovetop are a quick, easy, and delicious dessert. So far this summer, I've made a lot of stovetop dumpling recipes using frozen fruit and leftover pie crust, so it just makes sense to try a peach version. However, if you Google or you YouTube search peach dumplings, you'll find something that looks really different. A lot of the times the recipes call for taking canned peaches and crescent rolls and rolling some of the peach slices in the crescent rolls, laying them in a baking dish and then pouring over a sugary spice syrup all over the dumplings, baking that, and then they turn out nice and golden brown on top and they have that sweet syrup. It looks really good. I think my friend Andrea from Foodamentary's Adventures in Food did something like that, so be sure to check out her video recipe. But I'm going to do something different. I'm going to make stovetop peach dumplings with leftover pie crust. Here in this pot I have 1 pound of peaches. Most of them are frozen, but I also have 1 fresh peach that I didn't have quite 1 pound. To the peaches, I'm going to add some spices, 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, as well as 1/4 cup of orange juice, and the zest of that orange. So we'll say maybe a little over 1 teaspoon of orange zest. Like I said, I'm doing something different from the other peach dumpling recipes here on the internet, but one thing, or a couple of things that were interesting was that, like I said, people use the crescent rolls, a lot of them use orange juice in their recipe, and a lot of them used Mountain Dew, so that's kind of interesting. I'll have to experiment with that. Also going to add some sugar. I'm going to add 1/4 cup of white sugar, or as I measure it, about 50 grams, as well as 1/4 cup of brown sugar, as I measure it, 60 grams, 1/2 cup of water. I know it sounds odd adding water to fruit, but if you turn on the heat without any liquid, the fruit will burn before it has a chance to really cook. So I'm going to turn the heat on to high, and once this gets boiling, I'm going to add in my pie crust dumplings. It's been a few minutes since I turned the heat on to high, and everything is now thawed and boiling. It's starting to form a nice sweet syrup. I tasted it and it's delicious. I turned down the heat to medium, gas mark 3 out of 6. So now I'm going to take my leftover pie crust and I'm just going to drop it into the dumplings. I have probably, I would say, half of a 9-inch pie crust left over. I may add more, or I may not add all of this. We'll see as the recipe progresses, because as you know, a lot of times when I make something, I am making it for the first time, so we will learn together. Once the dumplings are in the peaches, I'm going to cook them while stirring fairly consistently for 10 minutes. Cooking them on medium heat, gas mark 3 out of 6. I'm almost done adding my dumplings, but I just wanted to point something out. In the beginning, I tore off little pieces of dough to make the dumplings. You can see these little small pieces here, but towards the end, I took some of the dough and brought it together like this, then flattened it out with my fingers to make bigger pieces. So there is a mix of bigger dumplings and smaller dumplings. That's probably 1 9-inch pie crust, maybe a little bit less, so just plan on using 1 pie crust. You may or may not use all of it. I'm going to keep cooking these for a few more minutes, and then these peach dumplings on the stovetop will be done. As you can see, my stovetop peach dumplings are progressing nicely. They're almost done, but I feel like they could use a little more liquid, so I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of water. I may add more, but as I always say, it's better to be conservative and add more later, because you can always add more later. You can't take away. I just turned off the heat. My stovetop peach dumplings with pie crust are now done. They boiled once I turned down the heat to medium between 10 to 12 minutes. I ended up adding an extra 2 tablespoons of water off camera. So that's a total of 3/4 of a cup of water and a 1/4 cup of orange juice. I'm going to let this cool off a bit and then dig in. Now it's time to serve these stovetop peach dumplings. They've cooled off for maybe 5 minutes, and as you can see, they've started to thicken up nicely. It's a nice sauce. As you can see, these peach dumplings look absolutely fantastic. Time for a taste test. You can see it a little bit better up close. You can see the peaches, the dumplings, everything. Good. I will say this is very delicious. I like it, but it is not as peachy as some people would expect it to be. I think because I used a 1/4 cup of orange juice and there was orange zest, and I added a good amount of spices. If you want it to be really peachy, just do maybe a 1/4 to 1/8 of a teaspoon of cinnamon, and just do extra water instead of the orange. I almost said lemon. So yeah, just water. I think it tastes good, but like I said, some people might be disappointed that it's not super peachy. But like I said, the peaches themselves, that flavor does come through. There's the orange, the cinnamon, the nutmeg. The dumplings are nice and soft. The pie crust is cooked. These stovetop peach dumplings are a hit. Like I just said, overall, this recipe for peach dumplings on the stove turned out great. It's just that they did not have as much peach flavor as I was expecting. But that issue could easily be solved by using fewer spices and less orange juice and leaving out the orange zest. Although these were great plain, as you can see, they were delicious with some vanilla ice cream as well. Like I said earlier in the video, I don't think that my version is what most people are looking for when they search for a peach dumpling recipe. So in the future, I'm going to revisit this and do something with maybe crescent rolls, Mountain Dew. We'll see. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time.